Hey, welcome back to the Jody Court Podcast. This is episode 9, and this is a podcast where we essentially just get to shoot the shit with people we think genuinely kick ass. And today we have with us Kennedy Shortreed. So for those of you guys who don't know Kennedy, this is some info that we want to share before jumping in, because she is one of the most amazing people ever. And I have a really interesting connection to Kennedy too, which I'll share in just a second. So Kennedy is a mother, a holistically minded birth worker, a studying herbalist, and a nature lover, as are Jody and I, the nature lover part. She's a holistically minded birth worker, connecting families to their power during pregnancy, labor, and the postpartum period. So to put that into the word that I understood it when Kennedy kind of had her unique role in my life, is she was my doula. And she, at that point, my eyes were open to the amazing things that this amazing woman had to offer. And we are so excited to have you here, Kennedy, because I think, first of all, being like having just the whole idea of like being a doula and what that's all about is so fascinating, and I want every woman in the world to know about it, first of all, but then also to talk about this amazing project that you've got going on, because I want every woman in the world to also know about that project.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it's so exciting. I have this unique experience of Kennedy used to sit in my math classroom. So I have seen her from that perspective and watched her growth. And I'm so incredibly proud of the young woman she's become and how she supports other young women. It's like, it brings tears to my eyes to think about it. It's so exciting. And I think Courtney and I both have had doulas with our births. So we have a very, very clear picture of what a doula is and how that works. But there's so many people out there, and probably lots of our viewers maybe don't know what a doula is. So perhaps, Kennedy, we can start with just, what is a doula?
Yes, so the word doula is actually an ancient Greek term that translates to a woman's slave. And
nice.
I did not know that.
Right? Yeah. So, but now we're known for being people who are experienced in birth, that help create like informed consent, help empower, help teach people how to advocate for themselves in a birth setting. And like, I do a lot of informational support, physical support, and emotional support. So a doula is a private person that the birthing family hires to join their team, whether they're birthing at home or in a hospital. And I come and I essentially just throughout, it varies what stage you're in. If you're prenatal, if you're right in labor and delivery, or postpartum, there's all different things that I'm sure we'll talk about later. But yeah, so I don't know. Does that answer the question fully?
Yeah. Can we expand it to, because I know that this was something that I looked into when I was looking into having a doula on my birth team, was how does it differentiate maybe from a midwife?
So a doula, we don't do any of the clinical stuff. We are there just to support you. We're not there to catch the baby or to listen to heart rates or to give you any medical advice. We're there to give you evidence-based resources and research to help you make your decisions. We're there to help empower you to advocate for yourself. Some doulas do fill the role as an advocate. That's just personally, I'm more into empowering you to speak for yourself and helping create informed consent in the birthing settings. But yeah, so that's really the difference, is that a doula is there as a support system and a midwife is there as a medical personnel to help deliver the baby.
Awesome. Thanks.
Yeah.
So how and why did you choose to go down the path of becoming a doula?
So when I got pregnant, I was only 19 years old, and I was working for Sarah Dash as for childcare. And she was one of the first people I told that I was pregnant. I had known her since I was like 13 years old. And so when she came to pick me up for work one day, I just like hopped in her car, and before we even could pull out of my driveway, I was like, Sarah, I'm pregnant. I don't know what I'm doing. I have no idea. And she knew my whole story. She knew my background with mental health. She knew that I was in a new relationship. She knew all of these intimate details, and she was like, okay, so this is what a doula is, and I can be there. I can fill that spot as a doula and help bring the best outcomes to you giving birth to this baby, if that's what you choose. And obviously we know now that's what I chose. And she stepped in, and just having that love and compassion through everything that I chose to do in regards to the baby. I had a really unique experience with the doula because I was at her house 4 days a week. So she would come home from work and be like, okay, how are you doing? And feel my belly and talk to me and make sure that, like, when I was doing childcare, there was always amazing food. I mean, it's Sarah Dash, so always amazing food. Always making sure that my nutrition was on point, that my mental health was doing well. She really checked in with me about everything, and just having that love and that support through it all, it was just absolutely eye-opening. So when I gave birth to Bo, and she let me do my thing, she helped me really stand my ground in the hospital when it came to the personal choices I had made surrounding my birth. I felt like a lioness when Bo was born. I honestly did. And having her stand by me and coach me through everything and do her beautiful, like, meditative speak to me, it was just, I fell in love with it. And I just decided that was something that I really, really needed to know that women were experiencing, not just myself. I wanted it to be available, and especially available for younger moms or people who have survived trauma. It's an incredibly valuable resource, and that's where my heart is in it. So yeah.
That's really cool. I love hearing you talk about Sarah Dash. So Sarah Dash Arbuckle is who Kennedy's talking about, if just in case you're watching this and you don't live in the Crowsnest Pass. And she was the owner of a business called the Health Hub for many, many years in the Crowsnest Pass. And she's just moving on to sort of the next big adventure in her life as it's unfolding for her. But she was also, so it was Sarah Dash, who was my doula, and then Kennedy, you were her student at the time, right? So, yeah. But I was just curious, what birth was I, like, how many births had you attended before you attended my birth?
I think you were like the first or second, actually. I think I might have had one before you, or one really close right after. I can't remember, but yeah, you were one of my very first births that I attended.
Yeah, and hearing you talk about the experience that you had, that lioness, when you said lioness, that is exactly the experience. I guess none of them are exactly the same, but for lack of better words, it was the exact same feeling that I had, like this, like, feeling of a lion, the lioness experience, and very empowered. And I'm so excited to hear that you're carrying that on, with your, as part of the way that you're helping other women now, which is so cool.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the piece that really spoke to my heart when you were sharing was the fact that you were this young woman in this predicament, but you had this other woman who was in your circle to support you. And it made me just feel like, because with raising daughters, for me, I'm always looking for, where can I insert a female role model into my daughter's lives? And how can I, so it's like being very intentional about who's teaching them horseback riding, who's teaching them mountain biking, what coaches am I exposing them to? Because I want to create this circle of women who are available to support my daughters. Because if my daughter's 19 and finds herself pregnant, the chances of her coming to me, right? I don't know. Maybe they would, maybe they wouldn't. But knowing that you had this other female role in your life that you were able to lean on and just like carry you through that journey and teach you how to kind of take your power back in that journey, that just made me feel super excited for you that you had that, and then that you are going to now provide that for other young women. I just think it's a very full circle. I love it.
It's exciting. I honestly, like, I'm honored to any birth space that I'm invited into. It's one of the most rewarding things that I could be doing with my life. Honestly,
Courtney and I always talk about Sarah Dash Arbuckle. She was my doula twice as well. She's absolutely fantastic. So I think we all can speak to her meditative voice.
Yes.
How incredibly powerful. Like she needs to have a meditation, like, I don't know, album out
like
there.
on Insight Timer, you know, the Insight Timer app or the Calm app, like she needs to be on those apps.
I agree.
For
totally.
real. Yeah.
So
So
hey, before we go to the next question, Jody, I just wanted to say, not as a, like, I don't want to do a spoiler alert for talking about the project later on, but coming from like, I guess to sort of relate to my mom's birth experience. My mom had me when she was 16, and in my birth story, that's actually kind of an integral part of it. But I love that how you becoming a mom, Kennedy, was actually that pinnacle point in actually like discovering this gift of yours. And I think that's such a beautiful thing that I want to highlight, in the fact that any mom out there who feels young or feels like I have no idea what the F I'm doing, or blah, 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 whatever your story is, maybe this is the dot in the connect the dot of your life that is that pinnacle point that's going to open up the doors or open up the awareness to like what you're meant to be and who you're meant to be and what you're meant to do, or maybe a piece of that. And I just love that like that's your story. It's so cool.
No, totally. It's incredible. Motherhood opened up a whole lot for me. I'm very glad that this journey happened, and yeah, it's exciting. I'll expand more upon that later, but yeah.
So maybe what we can do, because I was really surprised when I had a doula, I was shocked with how much support I got before and after. In my head, it was kind of like the day of, they're there, but all the support I got before and all the support I got after, really, that blew my mind. Maybe you can kind of take us through that journey of what it looks like before in terms of the support you offer during and then also post-birth.
Yeah. So before labor and delivery, in that prenatal period, a lot of what you're doing is developing a relationship of trust with the birthing family. And that's not just the gestational parent. That's not just the one that's carrying, but that's with the partner as well. That connection is really important, and having the trust between all of the members that are going to be there is absolutely integral. So a lot of stuff that I do in the beginning is finding that evidence-based research, that information for them, in order to help make the decisions that they're making throughout pregnancy and delivery and postpartum. A lot of what I'm doing is just scouring the web, going through all my resources possible to give them the best information that, again, is evidence-based. That's one of the biggest things when it comes, is that, like, stepping on their or nurse or midwife, that's not my duty. I'm going to give you the same information that they would have access to give you. It's just that your nurse, she's got a million things to do. Your doctor's got a million things to do. They don't have the time to sit down and give you each little bit of information for each little question. They can give you that snippet in the appointment time. So that's a lot of what I do, is connecting those dots, giving them more information if that's what they want. And for me personally, I do a lot of stuff in regards to creatively connecting and with your pregnancy and with your partner during that prenatal period. So I like to encourage a lot of like journal prompts, or there's a book called Birthing from Within, which is a really wonderful tool, right? Yeah. So a lot of stuff that I like to work with is kind of based out of Birthing from Within, where you're doing a lot of journal prompts, a lot of creative work, like drawing what you envision yourself as throughout the pregnancy, or during labor, what you want that to look like, almost like vision boarding throughout your pregnancy with your own creative tools, just to kind of create that basis that for empowering your own choices and really feeling secure in that bond. So that's a lot of stuff that I personally do. I'm just looking at my notes here.
You know what? While you do, Kennedy, I have to tell you something funny. So that Birthing from Within, a friend of mine lent me that book. She had it. And that exact prompt that you're talking about is exactly when you said the book, that's what popped into my mind.
Yeah.
So the question is sort of like coming up with an image of you during the birthing experience, right? And my picture, I had myself, this is so funny, I gotta stand on my chair, I'm like this,
I remember it.
yeah, I showed it to you, right? I'm like this, like, the Zen woman, like, in this, like, spread eagle, like, baby's head coming out, like, but it was so empowering to me to, like, feel that and be able to be like, you know, like, yeah.
Totally.
So, yeah.
Yeah. So that's like one of my favorite prompts, because honestly, like the work that I did for myself and the clients that I've attended that have used that, I've totally seen things that they've like written down manifest into their labor and delivery, and like holding on to that power and reflecting back on that image is such a wonderful tool when you're in the middle of labor and you hit that point where you're like, there's no way that I'm pushing anymore. I don't care what you have to do. I'm going to take a nap now. I'm done. Like tapping out. And to like recall upon that really empowering imagery is so like such an incredible tool, because it's something you created for yourself. It's so deeply what you desire. So I love so much. Another thing we do is I'm currently working on building up a lending library. So then when I do have clients that are interested in going deeper, not just using one or two prompts that I can put together for them, I have a large selection of books and videos. And I'm currently talking to an absolutely wonderful local yoga teacher and putting together some prenatal yoga videos that are
cool.
not be but will actually be videos that we can use and share with clients. So I'm super excited. Yeah. And then during labor, it really varies on the person and what their needs are, what their birth plan is, or whatever. That's another thing that doulas do during the prenatal period, is we can help you put together a birth plan if that's something that the client is looking for. Yeah. And then during labor, I do a lot of physical work, doing hip compressions and massage and helping actually like physically hold the weight of a hip compressions.
Oh yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Lifesaver.
One of my best tools ever is hip compressions. Like your hands are your biggest tool as a doula, I really find. And so I do a lot of that. And physically holding the weight, if a birthing person wants to stand up and wrap their arms around your neck and sway back and forth and put all their weight into you so they're bearing down. It's a lot of physical work, as well as supporting the partner is it seems like something that just kind of happens on the side really quietly, but it's so important, because a lot of times, like, as I'm sure you guys know, your partners are probably concerned, scared, excited, all of the above, exhausted, been right there with you through contractions the entire time. And so being able to be like, it's okay, you can go to the bathroom, I've got this, go eat something, I'm here for you, giving them a little shoulder rub, encouraging them, or even giving them prompts. One of my favorite things is like, if a partner is totally like stalling up, and it's emotional watching your partner give birth and seeing them kind of stall up and not knowing how to step in and how to be there for who's giving birth, being able to like whisper in their ear and teach them how to do those hip compressions, because Ina May is an absolutely wonderful midwife. She's like the midwife of midwives. Wonderful. But one of the things that she always says is like, what got the baby in gets the baby out. So like encouraging the partner to go and like start kissing, cuddle, hold your partner, be the one giving them a massage, be intimate with them, leaving the family alone so then they can have that intimate time together. That often will jumpstart labor more than anything. And so that's one of the things we do, is kind of facilitating that connection. Again, I don't know, I feel like doulas are a little bit, we work in the shadows. We like to connect the dots for people. Like I will do a lot of helping during labor, helping the family advocate for themselves. Like if a doctor's maybe moving too quickly through something and just like going through all the motions, really want to give you all your options, blah, 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 and like get the chart and everybody's zooming around you. Labor can progress fast. and being able to be the one that be like, no, stop, they had a question, like this isn't something they were interested in, can you explain what's going to happen, what are the concerns with choosing that option, or whatever it is. And just being, I get kind of step in and be a little pause button, get people to repeat and go over and really make sure that the communication is clear. Communication is definitely one of the biggest things we do as doulas, is just facilitating communication and informed consent. And then moving into postpartum, there's so many things that happen during birth that like, it changes so much. It changes so much, and it's so beautiful and exciting. I don't even know what else I can speak to on that. I think I'm getting a little bit excited. But in postpartum, it really depends. I like to do about 3 visits postpartum, and I like to bring snacks and gifts and meals. That's a huge thing that I really got from Sarah Dash Arbuckle, is she makes sure those nutritional bases are covered. You've just given birth, your family's exhausted, you're adjusting to so many different things, that like bringing a home cooked meal, bringing something easy to eat when you're nursing, if that's what you choose or whatever. And so I bring a lot of things like lactation cookies, herbs, meals. Sometimes like this kind of melds into being a postpartum doula, which I'm a labor and birth doula. Eventually I would like to move into postpartum. I love the whole process, so that'll be something down the line too. But bringing food and being there to hold the baby, so maybe the mom can like go to the bathroom without time with infant, or like maybe the father can take the dog out for a walk, or the parents can have like 5 minutes alone to drink tea together, whatever. So yeah, I bring a lot of gifts, and I often try to carve out a little bit of time to like debrief after the birth and hear their interpretation and share with them the highlights of it for me, maybe pieces that they forgot. I like to write down little keywords or funny things that happen throughout labor to reflect upon with the family after, and just kind of bring everything full circle. Yeah.
I love that. I had so much nostalgia as you were going through.
I know, me too.
I was just like, oh man, like those of you who have never had a doula or had never considered having a doula, you really need to, because it was a mind-blowing experience for me. And having somebody else there just to support my husband was amazing. Like that piece, you're right. It like happens quietly on the side. I didn't really notice it, but talking to Ryan afterwards, he felt so like he could just focus on me, because he didn't have to worry about being concerned about all the things and making sure this happened and making sure we followed the plan and all of that. He could just focus on taking care of himself and taking care of me, because Sarah took care of everything else. And then for her to come back after and have this like story written for me, like she had this birthing story, and I was just like, oh, like I would have never been able to sit down and do that, because you're so in the moment and everything just flies out of your brain like the moment it's done. That it's so precious to me. Like that whole process, I would never do it any other way. It was amazing.
And that's one of my favorite the snacks right after too, because you don't realize how hungry you are, right? And then you guys are here and you're like, oh, would you like beef jerky or this or watermelon? And like, oh man, the watermelon, nothing has ever tasted so glorious in my life as the watermelon right after giving birth. It was, but like those are types of things too that like, you know, like it's just those little nuances and details that how would you ever know to even think of that if you've never done it before, right?
Totally.
That's awesome.
My doctor with Ella, so my first birth, my doctor was the doctor who delivered my brothers. He was here forever. And it was fantastic because he was very laissez-faire, hands off, like, let's just let the body do what it's going to do, didn't rush anything. But it was his first experience with a doula as well. So him having Sarah Dash there was his first time. And I remember so distinctly at a follow-up, appointment with him that he just spoke the world of Sarah. And he was just like, that experience, it was so eye-opening for him because he had never witnessed a doula, and Ella's birth wasn't super easy. So Sarah played a really big role in working with my doctor and with my husband and with us and with the nurses. And he was just extremely impressed. So I loved seeing his point of view of it because he's obviously birthed a bazillion babies. Mm-hmm. And then for him to have his very first experience with a doula with me, and just his his joy for her being there, and his willingness to be like this should be the thing, like this should be the norm, basically. Like we should all have a doula with us to help us. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I think we should transition into the project that you're working on. So we kind of alluded to this at the beginning of the podcast, that you've got this project on the go. Do you want to tell us a little bit about it? How it came to mind, what inspired you, what you're going to do with it, how people can get involved in it too?
Yeah, so I'm currently working on a series of work, which I'm just calling right now Becoming, because that's the word that stands out the most. So I'm working on right now, I'm in the process of interviewing a bunch of parents, and it's not just moms. Like, I want to interview dads. I want to interview any parent really on the process of becoming a parent and what that internal shift that happens. Because we know that everybody's life, obviously, we're all so individual, and then that doesn't change when you experience pregnancy, labor, delivery, when you experience those tender newborn moments and that stage of becoming something new. And I obviously found becoming a parent incredibly transformational. I was really stagnant in my mental health. I struggled a lot with depression and anxiety for years, and that's still something that I work with. But becoming a parent gave me so much more motivation to be a lot more proactive in my mental health. And I had no idea. I was overwhelmed with the anxiety of choosing something that I wanted to do with my life for years, that I was just like, I don't know, I'm an artist, that's it. Don't ask me any more questions. That's just what I do. I paint things, whatever. Don't talk to me. Like, I was just like, no, I'm not choosing something to do with my life. A career, no thanks. That's no. Too much. I could never ever put a name to what I wanted to do. And becoming a parent, it completely shifted that. Like, being a doula opened my eyes to a whole new world. And like I said in my bio, I'm a studying herbalist. I'm studying to become a clinical herbalist in order to start intertwining those two practices and supporting people, because I really found that connecting to myself and healing through connection with nature was really integral. And that's something that happened, that was birthed out of me becoming a parent. And so I want to tell those stories. I want to help facilitate people telling those stories, because I feel like a lot of times we get the birth stories, and those are wonderful. Like, oh my gosh, birth stories are one of my favorite things to listen to. But I feel like there's something more than just you and the physical act of giving birth to this baby. And yeah, I just find it incredibly transformational. So right now I'm interviewing various parents and getting them. I will record the conversation. Some people are writing stuff to give to me too. And then I go through and I'm going to break down those recordings and writings and turn them into like short creative writing pieces and poems, and hoping to connect with a photographer in order to add a visual element to it as well, and just tell the full story of that internal shift that happens when you become a parent, because it's huge. I feel like everybody experiences it and has a different shift that happens when they become a parent. So yeah, that's becoming.
It's so exciting to me. When we were chatting before we started recording, and Kennedy was kind of giving us this brief overview of her project, and because we knew about it, and we're hoping to be a part of it. But we didn't know all the details. And when she was explaining it, it was just like, like just shivers and tingles all over, because it's so exciting. And I loved what you just said, because it's like you birth a child, but you kind of birth a new you. Like it's a brand new life. It's a brand new version of yourself. And I kind of feel like that happens every time. Like I feel like when I had Tegan, it was my second baby, but it was still a brand new me when I came out of there, right? So I love the idea of focusing on that side of the story too. So beautiful.
Because I feel like there's
oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I just feel like there's so much more to it. Like the act of giving birth is beautiful, but I remember a friend asking when I was at the end of my second pregnancy, I was probably like a month away from giving birth to Jude. And she asked me like how I was, what have you been up to? I haven't seen you for a long time. And I was just like, I've been gestating. And she was like, well, you're like you're, and I was like, no, but myself, I feel like I am internally, my brain, I feel like I'm gestating something new. There's something growing and I don't know what it is, and we'll see when I give birth. Like it was just,
that is so cool.
Yeah.
You know, that actually puts a lot into perspective for me now looking back. Actually, I felt so I ended up taking 4 months off of work beforehand, because I couldn't handle the balance. But now that gives words to it. I felt, it was like something was gestating in me, and I needed to give it that space.
Yeah.
To a certain extent. Yeah, that's really interesting. I've never thought of it that way.
Oh.
Yeah.
Something.
It was very fun. It was very fun writing out my story. And I don't need to go into the details. I actually just kind of want to see how it comes out on your end. But the process of reflecting back and figuring out what that story is was it was interesting, because what ended up coming out on the paper was not really what I had expected, and there were bits and pieces of it that I've sort of told as sort of my story, but it often comes out as the birth story, which is what you said. But that actually, just looking into, there's a piece where I wrote that I actually felt like I became a mom 6 months prior to even conceiving. I heard this little voice in my head talking to me saying, I'm ready to come, Mom. And that was when I felt like I had shifted into motherhood almost, like I was ready. So very, but it really had nothing to do with the birth story, which was also a cool story. But and the reason why I say that is because I just if there's anybody listening or watching and you're like, gosh, I would love to connect to Kennedy, do it, first of all, because that's cool in itself. But even just going through the process on your own was neat. It was really cool and reflective. And for me, it was only 3 years ago, so easy to recall. But Jody, you're at 10 years now. Hey, 10 years.
Yeah, Ella will be 10 on Tuesday. And Tegan will be 8 just a couple weeks after that. So it's taking me a little bit longer to find the space within my life right now. I feel like I need a huge amount of space to just meditate and be quiet. I need to probably go for a long run by myself, which hasn't happened, because Ella keeps coming with me, which is fabulous. But I just need some space to actually travel back in time and kind of get back into the headspace of who I was 10 years ago and how that evolved. I know it's exciting to me to reflect on it, because I haven't thought about it in so long. I haven't given it 2 seconds of my time until you brought this project up, Kennedy. So it's really kind of exciting to just force myself to go back there and reflect on it and think about how far we've come as a family too. So exciting.
Some of the best advice I've ever heard in terms of forward momentum is turning around and looking backwards. Because oftentimes we're so forward focused and we just see how far we are away from our goal or how far we are away from that thing that we're moving towards, whatever that may be down the road, that we forget to look back and see how far we've actually come. And when we look back, we're like, holy smokes, the things that I've accomplished or the things that we've accomplished. And man, I can imagine too, it like in a partnership, right? If there's two parents involved in it, just how far you've grown together in that relationship and the ups and the downs. And yeah.
Yeah, super, super exciting. So Kennedy, if people want to get in touch with you, either to be a part of this project or to hire you to join their birthing team, what is the best way for them to get in touch with you?
So you can find me on Facebook at Mother Juniper Doula, and message me from there. My phone number's on there. I'm also on Instagram under the same name. Using any of those you'll get a hold of me really quickly.
Awesome. And is there a story behind the name? Because I've always wanted to ask. Yeah.
Yeah. So in starting to study herbalism, probably a little bit before I actually started to study, I just kept getting drawn back to juniper. Every hike I went on, I just wanted to sit down and hang out with the juniper bushes. And so I mentioned this to my grandmother, and her father was a self-made herbalist, and he was one of my greatest influences, my great grandpa George. And they lived like really northern Alberta, and juniper was one of the medicines that he always worked with. Always. He would do juniper baths for people who struggled with arthritis, and actually cured one of our family members of rheumatoid arthritis using juniper and wool blankets. Like, just crazy, wonderful medicine. And again, in talking to my grandmother, she told me that if she could go out into the forest and forage again, the first thing she'd go to was juniper in order to draw herself a juniper bath. And it just felt like this lineage of medicine for me. And that was one of the first plants that I worked in order to make medicine. And juniper is really like, when you first encounter a juniper, it's a very pungent smell, and they kind of have a rougher exterior. They're a rather prickly, rough looking shrub, but they're really medicinal, and they bring a lot of clarity when you work with them, and both like physically and mentally, they're a very clearing plant. So that was one of the things that just really, I find that I remember being told by a lot of people when I was in high school that I was really intimidating, that they didn't want to talk to me because they thought that I would be mean. And I'm not. Like, I'm the most soft-hearted, emotional person ever. And so I found that was really, it really suited what I've always worked with within myself, is kind of coming off a little bit cold. I've got that resting bitch face a lot of the time. So a lot of people get the wrong picture that I'm this prickly, unwelcoming shrub, but really I'm really into connecting, and I do a lot. I like to hear people's stories and work with them to clear stagnant energy. That's one of my favorite things. So yeah, Mother Juniper.
I love that story. I'm so glad I asked. It's like been one of those things I've always wondered about, like, where does that name come from? So thank you so much for sharing that story. I love the connection to your family and your great grandfather, and that I love it. Is there any final words? Like, do you have like a message you want to send out to, the new moms or the expecting moms, or any final words you want to leave for our audience?
I think that's such a big opportunity. So many things I could say, but honestly, the biggest thing that I could say is to trust your intuition. And if you're choosing a doula or any element in regards to a doctor, a midwife, you're allowed to shop around. Listen to your intuition and choose somebody that you actually connect with, not just because somebody highly recommends that person. You need somebody that you can trust with, because giving birth is an emotional, intense, intimate, and artistic process. So you need to feel secure within that, and know that you've got it. Your body knows what to do. Listen to yourself. Yeah.
Sound advice. Courtney, do you have any final words?
No, other than just thank you so much. I feel really blessed to have had this conversation, and I think that you're an amazing person, and I'm proud of you for listening to your own voice, and grateful that because you're listening to your voice, that so many women out there are going to have birthing experiences. I'm like choking up here because it was so important to me in my birthing experience, and becoming a mom and everything, to have that person there to mentor me and to love me in a way that no other person really could. And that's what you offer, and just the pureness in the way that you speak of it, and the pureness in your love and passion for it, it radiates from you. And so any person who gets to have that experience with you, I'm so excited for them.
Oh, thank you, Courtney.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate this opportunity to talk to both of you. You both inspire me so much. I'm just eternally honored to have space on this little podcast you guys are doing. This is so much fun.
Well, we are super honored to have you and grateful that you were able to dedicate some time to us. We are ecstatic about your project, and we'll definitely share it on our Facebook page and everywhere we can, and support you in whatever way you see us being able to play a role in supporting you in this project. For those of you listening, thank you for your time. We always appreciate our audience's time. We know your time can be spent on anything. And if you chose to spend your time listening to us, that is a gift to us. So thank you for your time. If you feel like this resonated with you and you had names pop up, feel free to share this with those people in your circle. Like, subscribe, comment, all that jazz. And move forward with your week, just doing one thing that you can do for yourself. So thank you again, guys. And I guess we'll see you next week. Next week we have, Courtney, do you want to do the honors of sharing who we have on next week?
Next week we have the one and only Sarah Arbuckle.
What?
Coincidentally. We're not gonna, I know, right?
And not like this was not planned. Like this all just comes together. It's like the universe is just supporting our plan.
Yeah.
Synchronicity. That's awesome.
Totally. So we're gonna be chatting with Sarah about how obstacles are actually our opportunities is gonna be the topic. So we're really excited about that. And you'll have to tune in next week.
Awesome. Thanks again, guys. Until next time. See you.
Yeah. See ya.